This is Tutor Joseph from Brainstorm Academy, and I'm an IGCSE Chemistry Specialist. And today, we shall look at Cambridge IGCSE for Chemistry Paper 2, Multiple Choice Extended for Variant 2, Code 0620, from February-March 2024. Question number 1. Solid X is heated for 600 seconds. The graph shows the heating curve that is obtained. What is the melting point of X? The melting point should be located at the first horizontal line in the heating curve, and that's actually at 170 degrees Celsius. Question number 2. Which statement about diffusion are correct? 1. Aqueous ion cannot diffuse in water. That's not really true. They do diffuse in water. Diffusion is caused by random motion of particles. That's correct. Particles spread out in all directions in diffusion. That's correct. And diffusion can only take place in solid and liquids. That's wrong. So 2 and 3 is the answer. C. Question number 3. Which statement about an atom of fluorine is correct? So a fluorine atom has equal numbers of protons and electrons, but in terms of protons and neutrons, it has 10 neutrons. So it has 9 protons, 9 electrons, given that it's an atom, and also 10 neutrons. So in total, it has 28 protons, neutrons, and electrons. We can check for other options. It has more neutrons than protons. Its isotope should contain the same number of protons, and its nucleus contains 10 neutrons. So A is the answer. Next question. 2 of the isotopes of calcium are represented as calcium-40 and calcium-44. Which statement explains why these isotopes of calcium have identical chemical properties? Both isotopes have different number of neutrons, not the same. Both of them have an electronic configuration of 2882. Both isotopes have a mass number of not 20, but individually one is 40, one is 44. And both isotopes have not fully occupied electron shell. So B is the answer. Both of them have 2882. And then it is due to the valence electron and the specific electronic configuration that allows them to have identical chemical properties. Question 5. Which statement describes the property of potassium iodide? Given that this is an ionic compound, it is soluble in water, and it is not volatile. It should have a high melting point, and because it's an ionic compound, it conducts electricity when molten. Next, methanol, CH2O, has a boiling point of negative 19 degrees Celsius. At negative 20 degrees Celsius, the liquid methanol is a non-conductor of electricity. In a sample of methanol, each atom of carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen has noble gas electronic configuration. Each atom has achieved this electronic configuration in one of 3 ways: gaining electrons, losing electrons, sharing electrons. Which statement describes the bonding between carbon atom and the oxygen atom in methanol? Given that it's composed of non-metal atoms, and plus it's a non-conductor of electricity at liquid state, it is most likely a covalent molecule. So we just have to obey the covalent rules of drawing, in which each carbon form 1 line, each carbon forms 4 lines, hydrogen forms 1 line, oxygen forms 2 lines. So that should be the structure of methanol. Assuming we're assuming this. So you see that the carbon atom and the oxygen atom, they share 4 electrons. So A is the answer. Right, moving on. The structure of diamond and graphite are shown. Which statement about diamond and graphite is correct? Diamond and graphite contain strong covalent bonds between carbon atoms. That's correct. Only graphite has delocalized electrons. Only graphite has layered structures, and both of them have high melting points. So 7 is 2. Moving on to number 8. Which row contains a description of metallic bonding and a property that is explained by reference to metallic bonding? So metallic bonding is actually a lattice of positive ions in a sea of delocalized electrons. And metal bonding explains how metals have high melting point and also being able to mold it into different shapes as the layers can slide over each other. So A is D now too. Next, what is the relative molecular mass of sulfur dioxide? So that can be gotten from the periodic table, 32 plus 16 times 2, or in total 64. Okay, question 10. Magnetite is an ore of iron which contains the ions Fe2 plus, Fe3 plus, and O2 minus. What is the formula for magnetite? So Fe2 plus forms a 1-to-1 ratio with oxygen, oxide ion, whereas for iron 3, it forms 2-to-3 ratio, given that it's 3 plus 2 minus. So sum them up together, you actually get Fe3O4. So magnetite is a unique one. It has the formula of Fe3O4. Question 11. Which role identifies the product at the cathode in each electrolysis, given that we are electrolyzing concentrated aqueous sodium chloride and dilute sulfuric acid? So given that it's a cathode, we just need to look at the cation. For dilute sulfuric acid, it will be hydrogen. And since we're doing sodium chloride, so we get hydrogen also. Given that it's an aqueous solution, we cannot extract sodium using this method. Next, 12. Electrolytes can be broken down by electrolysis. Which roles are correct for each electrolyte? Okay, we can actually just look at cathode. Cathode always undergoes, I would say, cathode is a site where reduction occurs. So 3 must be wrong, as it's oxidation. Then we look at the number 4 or so. We just mentioned that given that we're doing concentrated aqueous solutions, metals will never get discharged at the cathode. So it's 1 and 2. 3 is the answer. Right. Let me double check here. Double check. Please give me a moment. Yeah, I was using the wrong mark scheme. Please give me a second. Let me switch on the correct mark scheme. Let me check everything. I think so far they are semi-correct. So B, C, A, B, D, A, B, D, D, B, A. Yeah, we have been correct so far. Okay, so apologies for the thing. Good. Next, which statement about hydrogen oxygen fuel cells is correct? So hydrogen is not extracted from dry air. It doesn't produce carbon dioxide. This fuel cell. The reaction should be exothermic as of it's a fuel cell. So answer is D. No toxic gases are produced. Next, which statement defines the activation energy for a reaction? So activation energy is the minimum energy, not maximum energy, that colliding particles must have to react, regardless of it being an exothermic or endothermic reaction. Next, the equation for the complete combustion of ethylene is shown. The bond energies are listed. What is the enthalpy change of the reaction when 1 mole of ethylene is completely burnt? Oh, that means you have to be careful of this. Given that it's 2 moles of ethylene being burnt here, you will have to do the same, but instead do it for 1 mole. So we have to divide by 2 later. Please remember to divide by 2 later after you find your enthalpy change for 2 moles of ethylene being combusted. So in the reactant side, we have two CC bonds. Or actually, can we just simplify everything by just divide by 2 initially? I think that's a better way. HC triple bond CH. Then we have 5 out of 2 OO. And this one we have 2 COO. I mean 2 CO2 and then 2 H2O. I think it's a better way. Okay, yeah? Please allow me to write it in a molecular formula form. C2H4 plus 5 over 2O2 turns into 2 CO2 plus 2 H2O. I think it's way better. Okay, so we have one C triple bond, CC triple bond. This one we have one. We have two CH bonds. We have 5 out of 2 double bond O bonds. And then we have 4 CO bonds. And then we have 4 OH bonds. So these are bond formation. These are bond breaking. So compute this out in your calculator. You get 37 plus 415 times 2 plus 490 times 2. We get 2912 on this side. And 805 times 4 plus 464 times 4. We get 5076. So 2912 minus that answer, we get negative 2164. I must have made a mistake here because we don't have that option. Also, you know something, this is a hydrocarbon. It must be exothermic. So it's either 1236 or 2472. I wonder where's my mistake. Let me double check. Or is it better if I calculate everything? I think it's just times 2, right? 2 times 837. 4. Hold on. 498. Okay, 5824. It's correct, right? 5824. Oh, I see it. I see it now. I see it now. This is the mistake. Yeah, always double check your answers. So it seems like my deductions are correct. It's just that I make a careless mistake. So what we need to do is you have two methods. Either you can do this whole thing, but the numbers are larger. That's why I decided to simplify it. And then you just calculate the bond breaking and bond formation, and then later you divide by 2. And here, instead, we divide by 2 initially. The mistake that I made is the ratio. So it's a 2-to-1 ratio. So now I don't need to times 2, I just need to times, I don't need to times 4, I need to times 2. So I get 805, that's 4, plus 464 times 2, I get 4148. And I just take 2912 minus 4148. I get negative 1236, negative 1236. So question 15, the answer is B. B for boy. Okay, move on. 16. In experiment 1, small lumps of limestone are added to dilute ethanolic acid at 40 degrees Celsius. The volume of carbon dioxide release is measured at regular time intervals. A graph of the results is shown. Which changes give the results shown in experiment 2? Experiment 2 must be of a slower rate of reaction. So that can be due to of the same temperature but using larger lumps. That cause it to become slower, because other will cause it to become faster. Okay, next question, 17. In the Haber process, nitrogen and hydrogen are reacted to make ammonia. The flow reaction is exothermic. Which conditions produce the maximum yield of ammonia? So to produce the maximum yield, we must increase pressure to favor the site with less gas, and then we must decrease the temperature to favor the exothermic reaction. So B is the answer. Move on. The Oswald process is used to make nitric acid. The conditions used in this process are a catalyst containing a transition element, a pressure of 10 atm, a temperature of 800 degrees Celsius. Which of the conditions are also used in the contact process? So it's one only. Because this is too high, contact process uses 2 atm, and then it uses 450 degrees Celsius instead of 800 degrees Celsius. So B is the answer. Next, 19. Hydrogen iodide is dissolved in water. Which row describes the final color C when the solution is tested with damp red litmus paper and with acidified aqueous potassium manganate 7? So given that it's hydrogen ions, it means that it is an acidic solution. So it should stay red. Then because we are using an oxidizing agent, we can force iodide to undergo oxidation to form iodine molecules, which turn it to form brown color. So answer is C. Question 20. Which statements about aqueous ethanoic acid are correct? It can be produced by oxidizing ethanol with potassium iodide. Potassium iodide is not an oxidizing agent. It's a reducing agent. So wrong. One is wrong. It reacts with magnesium to produce hydrogen gas. That's a typical acid behavior. So it has a pH value of 3. That's a weak acid. pH, so 2 and 3 are correct. And esters, it should not form metanoates. It should form ethanoates. All right, next question. Which element forms an acidic oxide? So acidic oxide must be formed from non-metal like sulfur. Next, which statement describes the properties of hydrochloric acid? The best answer is A. Because it's calcium carbonate. A carbonate reacts with acid to form carbon dioxide gas. 222 is A, and others are not so suitable. This is neutralization, and it should not form hydrogen, form water. Methyl orange should turn red because it's an acid, and then red litmus paper should stay red because of its acidic behavior. Next, elements P and Q have the same number of electron shells. An atom of Q has more electrons in its outer shell than an atom of P. Which statement are correct? So given that they have the same number of electron shell, they belong to the same period, not group, because it says that it's more electrons than the outer shell, than the P. So 1 is wrong, 2 is correct. So if an atom has more electrons in the outer shell, it should have a greater tendency to form negative ions, because we're going like across a period. The ones on the left tends to form positive ions, the ones on the right tends to form negative ions. And then the oxides of Q are more. Wait a minute. Oh, sorry, I misread the question. Q is on the left, so they form positive ions. Q is on the right. So Q should form acidic oxides. The ones on the right form negative ions, they form acidic oxides. The ones on the left form positive ions and they are more basic. So answer is C. 23 is C. 24. Which substance reacts with dilute sulfuric acid to form a salt that can be removed from the resulting mixture by filtration? It must not be copper because it couldn't react with sulfuric acid. And we are trying to filter away the solid. So it will be A, aqueous barium chloride, because barium ions react with sulfate ions, form an insoluble barium sulfate, and that can be removed by filtration. Next, astatine is below iodine in group 7 of periodic table. Which row describes the properties of astatine? So going down group 7, the melting point and boiling point gets higher, where it gets more solid, and it gets less reactive, so it does not displace chlorine, bromine, or iodine. Question 26. Which property of copper explains why it is classified as a transition element? So the ability to form multiple oxidation states is a trademark for transition elements. So others are not unique properties of transition elements, but instead A and C are just typical characteristic of metals. Next, brass is an alloy that is formed from copper and zinc. Which statements are correct? So since it's formed from metallic elements, it can conduct electricity. It is not a compound, but a mixture instead. And brass should be harder, less malleable than zinc. So 1 and 3 is the answer. Moving on, 28. The equation for the reaction of metal M and zinc sulfate are shown. Which statement explains why metal M reacts with aqueous zinc sulfate? Because M is more reactive than zinc. So we see that this is a battle for positivity. This is a displacement reaction involving making of positive ions. So M turns into M2 plus and zinc from 2 plus turns into 0. So zinc is okay, we know zinc is not more reactive than M. And it seems like the best answer is D. Zinc ions do steal electrons from M. D is the answer for 28. 29. In a blast furnace, the impurity silicon dioxide is removed by the formation of slag. Which equation represents the formation of substance when it reacts with silicon dioxide to form slag? It's calcium oxide formation. Calcium oxide reacts with silicon dioxide to form slag. So C is the answer. 30. Aluminium is extracted from bauxite by electrolysis. Which statement is correct? Aluminium ions are not oxidized but reduced. It is the anode that has to get replaced regularly because anode produces carbon dioxide. And C is the answer. Cryolite doesn't remove impurities, but instead it lowers the operating temperature by improving electrical conductivity of the setup and also acting as a solvent for alumina. 31. Iron rusts, but aluminium doesn't easily corrode. Which statement explains why aluminium does not easily corrode? Its surface is protected by an oxide layer. That's why. Next, which chemical can be used as a fertilizer to provide the 3 elements needed for improved plant growth? So 3 elements are N, P, K. So pick the one with all N, P, and K, and that should be the answer. So B is the answer. 33. What is the color change when water is added to anhydrous cobalt 2 chloride? It changes from blue to pink. B is the answer. Moving on. How do carbon dioxide and methane cause global warming? As they are greenhouse gases. They don't increase thermal energy loss to the space. They emit the thermal energy they absorb back to Earth. So A is the best out of all. Others are not super accurate. Okay, 35. 4 statements about photosynthesis are listed. Which statements are correct? So we need chlorophyll. The equation is the opposite. It should be carbon dioxide, water turned into glucose and oxygen. And it requires energy from light. So 1 and 3. And it should absorb carbon dioxide, which helps to reduce climate changes. Next, which molecules are structural isomers? Structural isomers are molecules with the same molecular formula but different structural formula. So this one has 6 carbon. This one has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5 carbon. One has 5 carbon. And this one is 5 carbon. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, 5 carbon. So we can eliminate 4. 4 out from the list because it has 6 carbon, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It wouldn't be a structural isomer of the others. It should be 1 and 2 from deduction. Otherwise, you can count manually. How do I know? Because both of them are saturated hydrocarbon. They should follow alkyl formula, which is what we call CnH2n plus 2. So both of them are C5H12. This is C5H10. It's unsaturated, following alkene general formula. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 3 plus 3 plus 3, 9. Yeah, so 1 and 3 is the answer, 36. Okay, next question. Which statements about the reaction of ethene with steam is correct? The product has a higher molecular mass than ethene. From deduction, I think so, because of the only difference between this and ethene is having an extra O, so it must have a higher molecular mass. The product reacts with aqueous bromine. No, it's already saturated, so not exactly. We react with bromine out of no reason, at room temperature at least. The number of electrons shared between carbon atoms decreases. It should have sharing the same number, I believe. This reaction produces alcohol and hydrogen. No. I think it's 1 and 3. 1 and 3, because 2 doesn't sound right. And 3 doesn't sound, sorry, 4 doesn't sound right either. It produces alcohol only, no hydrogen. What do you mean by, oh, I see it now. Between carbon atoms, that's correct. Because the number of electrons shared doesn't change, but the number of electrons shared between carbon atoms do change. Because it went from a double bond, which has 4 electrons in the middle, turns into a single bond, which has only 2 electrons in the middle. So 1 and 3 is the best answer here. Next, methane and chlorine react to form chloromethane. Which role describes the necessary reaction condition and the type of reaction? So this is an a substitution reaction. So we need UV light, and it's a substitution reaction because it's an alkene reaction. Next, parts of the structure of 2 different polymers are shown. Which role about the monomers and the linkages between monomers in polymers X and Y is correct? Both are amide linkages. Both are amide linkages. So say that they are the same linkage, but the monomers, as you can see, is different. One is a dicarboxylic acid, one is a diamine. This one is a amino acid. So their monomers are different, but the linkage is the same. So B is the answer. Last question. Substance Q is tested using paper chromatography. The resulting chromatogram is shown. Which statement is correct? Q is impure since we have 2 spots. RF of the lower spot is 0.25. That doesn't make sense. It seems pretty far out of the paper. It seems pretty far. It must be beyond 0.5. Q is a mixture of at least 2 different substances. That sounds about right. And we're separating mixtures, not compounds. So C is the best answer out of all. Okay, and that's it for this paper. If you like the teaching, please like and subscribe. And if you're interested in joining my masterclasses, please click the link below and you get full access to my masterclass for teaching IGCSE chemistry from A to Z. And from here, thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.